At least once a week, I get an email or a DM from some well-meaning person asking if they can pick my brain on how to start an ADHD coaching business. And while I love being helpful, especially to this community, I just can't answer and dedicate free time to all these folks. So if you are one of those folks, or if you're just curious about how to build an ADHD coaching business in 2025, then today's video is for you because I'm going to break down the whole thing. Now, for context, I have been an ADHD coach for about 4 years now. This is not my first rodeo when it comes to business, but it's my first successful business. And I've learned a few things I think will be helpful for you, especially as it relates to doing business in 2025 and beyond with the advent of AI and all of those things. So let's get into it. And before we get into this, if you are really serious about getting a coaching business off the ground, but you don't even know where to start, I would highly recommend checking out my Coach Hub planner and template. It will walk you through all of the things that you need to think about in terms of building your business, and it will also help you think through things like content creation and managing clients. And I also share all of the best systems I use in my business today, because here's the thing, more than consistency or dedication or any of those personal attributes, if you don't have good systems in your business, you're going to get scattered and go nowhere fast. So I will link that here or here if you're interested in taking a look. And on that note, let's get into it. So let's start with some good news. The ADHD coaching industry is growing leaps and bounds. And that's mostly because there's so many adults that are now getting diagnosed later in life. And with that, a lot of them want to shortcut their learning in terms of how to navigate this disorder and build a life that works with them and not against them, because let's face it, we're all pretty exhausted. So to that end, there is lots of opportunity for ADHD coaches in the industry. However, the downside is that by and large, it's very unaffordable, especially for private one-on-one coaching. Very few people can actually afford those rates. And what I've seen over the past few years are some ADHD coaching apps popping up, which solve the cost issue, because if there's a ton of people on an app and just a few coaches, then you can definitely charge lower rates. But the problem with that is that it's a bunch of people on an app with just a few coaches. And if you're not getting any personal interaction or face-to-face interaction, it can really dilute the power of coaching, because not only is coaching a personal relationship, ADHDers need to be emotionally invested in the experience or they're not going to make any progress. So that is just my perspective and assumption. If you have used some of these apps, feel free to leave your experience below. I'd love to know. So here's the first thing I would tell you if you're just starting out as a new ADHD coach. Once you've got your neurodiverse coaching training, because I think that's really important to do that, and you're ready to hang a shingle, the first thing I would tell you is to narrow down your focus as soon as possible. When I finished my training, I came out as a generalist, as most of us do, and I was focused predominantly on adults, but I learned very quickly that I needed to narrow that audience down even more, because as I started coaching adults, I noticed there were certain topics that I didn't feel comfortable coaching on, and those were the ones where I didn't have a lived experience or a felt experience. Like parenting, for example. I don't have kids, so I don't have that felt experience or empathy for clients that were struggling as ADHD parents, probably with ADHD kids. So I think it's really important, especially now with so many ADHD coaches in the industry, that you pick a focus as soon as you can. And that focus, I believe, should be around your own lived experience. You don't need to necessarily be an expert in that field specifically, but you should know what your clients are struggling with and be able to anticipate the pain points that they have, so you can start thinking about how you're going to serve them and support them, both in a coaching capacity, but also in your marketing. So I quickly went from a generalist focusing on all ADHD adults to only those who wanted to either start a business, had a business, or they were working in a professional setting and they needed to learn how to navigate neurodiversity within a corporate setting, because those are areas where I felt very comfortable. I had a lot of lived experience and some expertise that I could also share. And of course, even though I think the best practice is to narrow down, it's fine to start out as a generalist and try coaching different groups of people to see which ones you jive with, you're most excited about, and who you want to serve longer term. So once you've got that narrowed down, the next question I get from so many folks is, should I name my business after my personal name, or should I pick a business name? And I would suggest in 2025 to pick a business name, but make that name specific to the people you're serving or the pain point that you solve, whether it's moms with ADHD or dealing with overwhelm and chaos or disorganization. Think about using those words in the name of your business, not only because it's going to help you from an SEO perspective, but also in social media. If people can see your handle and immediately identify or see themselves in the name of your business, they will be more likely to follow you, even if you don't have social proof or you're just getting started. So I do think it gives you a leg up to have a business name, but again, don't overthink it, because it'll probably change at some point down the line. So now that you know the demographic you want to serve and the problem that you generally want to solve, and you've got your business name, now you want to do a little bit of research around this demographic so you can get very clear on who that person is, what their specific pain points are, and the language that they use. So this is where you want to start participating in Facebook groups and looking at reviews of books, anything that is tangential or directly related to your niche and person that you want to serve. Really start to understand where they're struggling and how they talk about what those struggles are. Because that's not only going to inform how you build out a coaching program, if you want to go in that direction, but also how you message your services so that your person will know that you are the right person to help them because you know exactly what they're talking about. So now that you know the person you want to work with, the problem you want to solve, and you've got a business name, if you will, now you want to start thinking about the offer that you want to serve. And when you're just starting out, there's nothing wrong with just charging, for 1 hour sessions or doing a bundle of like 3 or 4 sessions around the problem that you're solving, just to get your feet underneath you, build your coaching hours, and also just build your confidence. And so as you start doing these calls, you're going to start hearing calming complaints, especially if you're addressing a focused area like moms. And they're all going to kind of have the same problems. Just keep listening to both how they present the problem, what the language is that they use, and what the trigger points are for those problems arising. So for example, in my own business, I started to notice that people were mostly dealing with overwhelm. And the reason they were dealing with overwhelm is because they lacked prioritization skills, where they could look at all of the things that they needed to do and be able to identify what was important to do, what wasn't, and what needed to be done first. Because when you're overwhelmed, you just see everything all at once and you don't know where to start. So that was a pattern that I started to see early on. And over time, I was able to not just offer general coaching to this specific audience, I was able to start developing programs that address these specific issues, both in live coaching groups like my ADHD Reset that I recently launched, but also on-demand programs like Distraction Action, which is an on-demand productivity program that deals specifically with that overwhelm issue. So it takes a bit of time to get there, and I wouldn't rush the process. But once you get to the point where you have a general idea of how to solve overarching problems, I would start creating programs as soon as you can. And here's why. Number one, one-on-one coaching is not scalable, and if you're an introvert at all, it's also very draining. So you can only do so many one-on-one calls a day, which means you can only have so many one-on-one clients. Some people can do more than others. I could do very few just from an energetic standpoint. So I knew I would need to leverage a different style of coaching immediately if I was going to make this work. So if you've been around here for a while, you'll know that in 2023, I started to do less and less one-on-one work and more group work and on-demand programs. And I did that throughout the entire year to the point where at the top of 2024, I said I was going to stop doing one-on-one coaching altogether. And I just went with on-demand products and templates and workbooks and things like that. And for an entire year, that worked pretty well. I was able to do about low 6 figures in 2024, only doing on-demand stuff and templates, which was great because I did a ton of travel last year and we also had to move out of our house and a whole bunch of things, right? So that was great. But at the top of 2025, I knew something had to change. First of all, people are becoming less and less inclined to buy information, even if it's very targeted and very well done and well packaged, because information is just ubiquitous, especially now with AI. More and more, we need personal connection, and not just with a coach, but with a like-minded community that also struggles with the same struggles that we have. So I knew that I was going to have to make an adjustment in my business, and I also felt a little disconnected from my customers' pain points. Even though I get a steady flow of feedback from my audience, both in comments and also in emails, I felt like I needed to have more rich discussion. So at the top of 2025, I launched the ADHD Reset, and that's going on right now. And I have about 75 people in that program, which blew my mind. I was not expecting that much. And it has been such a great experience, not just for me, but also for this group of people who have been craving this connection as well around this shared experience. So that has done really well. And you might be wondering, how am I doing a group coaching program with 70-ish people in it? I'm doing it on the Skool platform. If you're not familiar with Skool, it is such a game changer. It's like Facebook minus the, toxic content. So the interface of Skool is really interactive, which means people are talking amongst themselves and they're asking me questions. It's also got a library of all of the content that we're going through that's been pre-recorded. I put a lot of work into this. And it also has a calendar of events where I go live on Zoom so people can ask questions and talk with each other in the chat as I go through the material for the week and then ask people questions and do coaching there. So I'm able to do coaching live, and I'm also able to do a lot of coaching in the community. And I think that that is the way that coaching is going to probably move in the future. Because number one, it's more affordable than doing one-on-one coaching. Number two, you learn from the questions that other people ask fast. And number three, you make amazing connections with other people in an environment that's safe to share what your biggest struggles are. So my prediction for 2025 is that we are moving more in the direction of communities, and specifically communities off social media, because it's just so toxic over there. I do highly recommend the Skool platform. So if you're interested in checking it out, I will leave a link to it below. Here's what you're probably thinking right now. That's great, Karen, but if I'm just getting started and I don't yet have an audience, how am I going to launch this big community that's going to be so awesome for everyone? I think that that is something that you want to work towards, but not necessarily something you have to start with right away. You could also do a small group coaching program with like 4 people in it, and you could do it on the Skool platform, or you can do it on one of the many platforms that are available out there, or just in Google Docs in a Zoom meeting, and have the same impact on a smaller group of people. As long as those folks are all dealing with the same issue and want the same transformation from the coaching, it can work just as well, if not better. And you can definitely charge more for these smaller groups. So as long as you have more than 2 people and you set expectations appropriately and those people are invested in the process, you can absolutely have an amazing small group coaching program. And the more you talk about it and the more you deliver it, the more confident you will become in the material and the outcomes that you get, the more testimonials you'll get, and it'll be easier to build from there. So if I were starting over, that's what I would do. Now, in terms of marketing my business, how would I get my name out there? I have been on Instagram for about 8 years and I still have less than 10,000 followers, and literally none of my content when I share it goes anywhere. I would definitely have a presence on Instagram because I feel like that's our yellow pages these days, but I would not use that as my main platform these days unless I was doing a lot of Facebook and Instagram ads along with organic content. And if you can do that, you're gonna grow a little bit faster and you'll probably get a much better reach. But no matter what platform you choose, whether it's Meta or YouTube or anything, you have to build an email list in 2025 and you have to email them at least once a week. I email my entire list every Sunday. It's called the Sunday Setup, and I send them everything that I've developed throughout the week, the thoughts that I'm having, the videos I made, the podcasts I made, and people love it. I get a high open rate. And of course, if you're not on my email list, please do get on there. I will leave a link to it below, whether you're looking to start a coaching business or you're just an adult with ADHD, you definitely want to get on there. And that is my primary channel with my audience. Even though I've got over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, not all of them are watching all of my videos. Nobody sees my stuff on Meta. And I do have a steady following on my podcast, but podcasts are super hard to grow. So if you are thinking of doing a podcast, first of all, make sure that the name reflects the person that you're serving and the problem they're having. And also make sure you have some other platform where you can promote that podcast, because podcasts do not promote themselves and they also very rarely convert. So if you are promoting something that you're doing, it's really hard for somebody to be listening to a podcast and stop what they're doing and jump online and do whatever you need them to do. So podcasts are great, but I would not consider that a primary vehicle. Definitely you want to start an email, and no matter which way you feel comfortable growing that list, you have to start growing that list from day one. And I talk about all of the systems that I do in terms of that in the Coach Hub planner that I talked about at the top of the video. And lastly, and probably the most important point of all, if you're going to start an ADHD coaching business, you have to come at it with an attitude of service, meaning that you're here showing up to serve and better the community before you even think about your business. So I would definitely not quit your day job to start coaching tomorrow and assume that if you hustle hard, you're going to get a bunch of clients and start replacing your income. That is the wrong way to think about it. First, because that's unrealistic, but also because you're going to come at it from a place of hustle and sale rather than service. I will say that building this platform here on YouTube over the past 4 years has been a labor of love, and the majority of people that watch my videos don't buy anything from me, and I have no expectation that they should. The fact that they show up and send me nice messages and tell me that I've helped is in and of itself the best thing that I get from this work, because from a monetary perspective, I could probably still make a lot more money if I wanted to stay in tech, but I didn't. I wanted to do something that had meaning to me, that would help me grow and help this community grow, something that I feel very emotionally connected to. And not for a minute do I regret transitioning out of my corporate job and into ADHD coaching, but it has been hard. And this is the first year that I think I'm going to make even remotely close to what I made in corporate. And, you know, it's not always easy. I work almost 7 days a week, and that is my personal choice. And I don't work like a full long day, 7 days a week, but at least once a day, I'm working in my business and I'm constantly thinking about it. So if you're not here to serve and connect, then you're going to burn out very quickly. So that's what I've got for you in terms of building an ADHD coaching business in 2025. If you have other specific questions, feel free to drop them below. And again, check out the ADHD Coach Hub planner that is going to accelerate your process and answer a lot of the questions that you probably have. And on that that note, thanks for watching. See you soon, guys. Bye for now.